Would you like to live your best life possible, regardless of your imperfections? Discover cutting-edge tools and inspiration to let go of your limitations and expand your life beyond what you've ever imagined. On Imperfect Brilliance, we help you tap into your unique gifts and talents, uncovering and letting your brilliance shine. Join Certified Facilitator and Coach Betsy McLoughlin as she delves into different areas of your life to get unstuck and create the life that is truly possible for you. Betsy has changed her life by utilizing the tools and techniques she is sharing with you. What if your willingness to acknowledge your brilliance is the catalyst to creating a new reality? When you stop judging you, what else can you create in your life and in the world? Join Betsy live every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern to create magical and joyous possibilities for an hour of laughs, questions, tips, and more. We are excited to contribute and play with you.
Welcome to Imperfect Brilliance, everybody. This is Betsy McLoughlin, and this week we're going to be talking about profits and how to make a ton of money without selling your soul. And my guest today, I'm really looking forward to this conversation and to see what tips she has, what we can create, and how we could make gobs and gobs of money and not feel like at the end of the day we've been sucked dry or, what all those other things that a lot of times we feel like, or we're going and doing things we don't really, really desire to do. And so many talented people, entrepreneurs, and different people wanting and desiring to create things feel like they can't make money doing what they love. And they blind themselves to possibilities all around. I know I certainly have done that, changed a lot of things, and I wonder where else I might be blind to possibilities that are right in front of me. That's a little taste of what we're going to talk about today. So welcome, Mande White Pearl. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and so grateful for all your listeners that they're coming to listen to this and take a nugget of possibility for themselves. Thank you.
Wonderful. And just a little bit about Mande, and then she can tell us a little more, I'm sure. I love this description that you sent me, saying Mande is a profit alchemist, helping entrepreneurs create a $100 million business as if by magic. Woohoo! And Mande, she's also an Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator, and her website is www.expandyourimpact.com. Anything you would like to add to have people know a little bit more about you, Mande?
Wow. Thanks for the great introduction. I appreciate that. I, of course, like many listeners, created my business from what I didn't want. I actually started running my dance studio at the age of 16 because my ballet instructor passed away. And I've been dancing since I was 2.
Wow.
So there was this assumed, well, because you're good at dance, you should be able to help teach and run the studio. And I quickly learned that those were like very separate skills. And a lot of the times people sort of combine them. I love tarot card reading, and so I'm going to I'm going to have that as a business. Or I like doing, jewelry making, and I'm going to make that a business. And I got a great blessing at that age and learned, that, and my parents strongly suggesting I go to college. So I went to business school to sort of learn the ropes of, I would really like to run a dance studio, or I would really like to do something that I love as an adult. I saw that my parents didn't have that. But they didn't have that choice either, as growing up. But I wanted to learn how to do that, and was very disillusioned by school and university in that they were only teaching people how to have big businesses, and the whole economics focus is on the demand and the supply. And there was this awakening in me that I didn't realize until this last decade for myself, of the world evolving into a place where the Newtonian principles of gravity and time aren't relevant anymore, or aren't going to be what is the thing that changes the world. And all of these modalities that people are passionate about, like Reiki and access and quantum physics, whatever it is, right? The moon, all of it are the things that our world needs more of right now to let people tap back into who they are, because that is what's gonna that unification is what's gonna change the planet. So I've sort of just been playing my whole life with this balance of creating something and realizing it wasn't exactly what I wanted, and then continuing to ask, well, what else is possible here? And I didn't know that when I first got into Access, but I think that's why I really loved the Access work, was because it gave me all these more tools to ask, this isn't quite what I want in my life, but how do I believe that what I want is possible and get to that and create that as my reality? So I just have fun. Me and my husband work in the business together, or play in the business, I should say. And we just have a whole lot of fun helping people, get over feeling wrong about all the things they failed at business before and sort of point them in a direction of what kind of marketing and sales conversations and money making might be fun.
Wow. And with the Profits Alchemist, I just love that. Yes, please. What? And you said in your description that you contribute to them creating that as if by magic. And I know we'll dive in a bit to that piece of it. And you gave us a little bit of background as to how you kind of honed this for yourself. And I'm wondering, when you started this, did you really have an awareness of what it was that you desired to create, or did you kind of create as you were going along?
I created very messily the whole way through. So about a decade ago, I created being laid off. It was like a week after I was crying in Target. I was feeling the hormones of being 30 and wanting to have a family, and thinking the only way I could have it is if I had a baby, and I couldn't have a baby if I had this crazy job that I worked at. And I just was in the baby aisle smelling the smell of diapers, and I just cried out to the universe, like, what else is possible? And a week later, I get laid off, and I get offered a speaking gig to teach about Twitter to my local marketing, people. And I knew in that moment, I'm breaking down my office, and I'm singing one of the Pink songs that's popular at the time, So What? I Don't Need You, I'm All Right.
Right.
And I've never looked back since then. My life is completely different than what I thought. I started off naming my business Free socialmediahelp.com. And tried to give it all away, and I, learned a lot of lessons the wrong way. But again, with each one of those things, I had an innate sense of, I want something different. There has to be something else possible. Right. And I did stumble into the work, probably one of Gary Ordain's books. I think Money Isn't the Problem You Are is the first one I started with. And just, it spoke to me in such a different way that I, just dove right into it. And played with some of the tools and continued to create my business as best as I could throughout the time. And it's like most people do too. They think they get excited about something, they go off and they create something, and then they get bored and then they judge it and they think it's not working. And yet if you'll stop and look at, well, what is right about all this that I've been doing, and where is the tiny moment of the little molecule that needs to be shifted. Most of the time I find with myself and with my clients, it's not big shifts that have to happen. It's just little tweaks. So for me, yes, the energy was there of what I wanted in a business years ago. And now, I have kids. They're out playing in the pool right now. I have a different husband. Life looks completely different. But you got to keep focused on believing that there's nothing wrong with you, absolutely nothing wrong with you. And that whatever weird combination of crazy reality you might like, if you're willing to let go of how it has to show up, it can show up way beyond what you think.
Well, and that is such a key piece when I look at things, even for myself, of being willing to let go of what I think it's supposed to be like and feel like and smell like and look like, and actually, so get out of my own way. And then what does show up is it constantly is surprising me. Still, even today, I had a surprise and like, oh, wow. And unexpected. And yes, please. And being also another piece that I'd like to talk about is the willingness to actually ask for what it is you would like to have and then receive it when it shows up. So what do you say to the people that you work with about that piece?
I think it's a tricky piece, and I understand why it's confusing, because somehow we got taught, and there's a good percentage of people who've done law of attraction, read it, studied it, whatever. So I'll kind of speak to it from there. In law of attraction, they have this sort of like, well, you create the vision board and then the shit shows up. And then most of us are vastly disappointed that those things don't, show up. And I think the missing piece in it is nobody tells us that stuff that we put on that first vision board, nobody asks us if it's ours. Nobody asks us if it's really what we desire to have. Because if I look at my own life, I'm crying in the baby aisle at Target, right? I wanted a family. I thought I wanted to have a baby because that's what you're supposed to do when you're 30 and right. And what I've realized is I got introduced later to 2 children. And they were at a great age, and they asked me to be their bonus mom before my husband actually asked me to marry him. Yeah. And I wouldn't, looking back on it now, like I didn't know that was a possibility, that you could just get other kids. And the joy of getting to parent and then having it not be not have to overcome all that biological stuff, right? Is just another reality that, and it's also, I get to heal all of the wounds of the step family issues that my family has, right? And the world has. So, I didn't know that that's how it was going to show up. But as long as you sort of don't make yourself wrong for it, because I really felt like my body didn't want to have babies. My body didn't. I didn't understand why this just wasn't working. And instead of saying, well, how do I have a family and not have a baby? How do I have this and that? Like, that's where we maybe need to step into, is that space of how can I have this and not something else, right? And continue to refine that vision board picture of what is it that you really want?
Wow. Yes. And so if you think, well, I think it, so isn't that something that I want?
Well, so here's another
people for around that.
Yeah, in a business sense too. Okay, so here's an example. A lot of times people say, oh, I want $100,000 business. I want to make 6 figures. And that's something that they've been told they're supposed to want, or it's some milestone of what they want, right? And part of being a profit alchemist is I'm realizing that just because you do all the things that other people do to get the results that they want to get, or that they have gotten themselves, doesn't mean that that exact pattern works for everybody else. There's always some combination of your own wants, and in this reality, your audience is probably quite used to, like, everything is energy. So the business you're trying to create has its own energy. And so therefore, did you ask the business if it wants 100,000? Or, because most of the time when I check in with people's businesses, they want a fuck ton more. They want way more, right? So looking at, if you think it, again, it's if you think it, and it's there's a little piece of, is it in alignment with the other factors that are co-creating with you, and in this quantum reality, right? You're looking for that little match, and when you find that match, that's when it sort of actualizes into something that you're looking for.
Well, that's a really, really interesting thing. And so are you, in a way, it sounds like you're saying maybe you shouldn't try to control how much money your business would like to create? Yeah, and I tend to, we do that from the perspective of, let's just go ahead and have you step into being a $100 million CEO. We do an exercise with our clients where because in quantum reality, all possibilities exist. So there's already a version of you who is a CEO of a $100 million company. And it looks quite different than you broke and on your couch trying to manifest stuff. So we tap you into that and have you pull threads of energy from that version of you into this reality, and then let that reality feed what you think. Okay, so what does the $100 million version of me think? What does the $100 million version of me feel? What does the $100 million version of me do in a daily basis? Like who am I surrounding myself with? And there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be, but by understanding that it's energy and not linear doing this, it helps to have you start to build that muscle of what is awareness, and then what is like my judgment or my thoughts, my feelings, and my beliefs. Wow. I love that. And you guys might want to play with that a little bit while we go to break. Stay tuned for more delicious tips from Mande today. Thanks for listening.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
We are talking about really changing your mindset around how much money you can create. And we are talking today with Mande White Pearl, and we're so glad you're here listening, whether you're listening live or in the future. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And Mande, so your website was Expand Your Impact, right?
ExpandYourImpact.com.
.com. And you were talking about tapping into being 100 million, having your business, being the CEO of $100 million business. Mm-hmm. And what does that contribute to people, and what does that change for them?
What does it contribute? Well, for me, I think that it goes to impact, the question of impact, right? So if you are looking to, create in the world and you want to make an impact, I mean, yes, we all make impacts just being us, right? But that's often sort of filtered through that we can only be us in these circumstances or these situations. And when we remove when we allow ourselves to be judged or allow ourselves to, not have any barriers between us and what we ask for, that impact can expand so much more rapidly and widely and profoundly. And so by imagining that it is possible, for you to be $100 million CEO, I think that it contributes to the space of that possibility, not from you're failing because you're not doing it now, but just from that's right. Possible for all of us. And it starts to also get into the space of money is so ridiculously not real. I know you see that with the virus stimuluses that they've sent out, and the fact that our money's not backed on gold. They just can print money anytime they want. So if we can understand and study money in a different way than we've been taught, and I know Access Consciousness has some really great tools for helping people to figure out money, that money is just energy. And I say that and it sounds trite, but go play. If money is something that is a quote problem for you, then find someone in the Access community who's got some tools that you think might be fun to play with in regards to money, because most everything we've been taught about money is just not true. And if you can get yourself out of that, then the possibility of profits by being you, and profits from doing what you love, and profiting from not harming anyone in the world to get the money you're trying to creating something that's sustainable, all of that's possible then, right? And all of that's something that only you, in your crazy combination of you, can actualize in the world.
And so again, I'm hearing getting out of your own way. And so you do the exercise of tapping in, and what else could you share with everyone about what you can do to change your mindset on this?
Well, I have a great story for you. It's so loud in my world right now. So I was chatting with this prospect, it was actually a couple of years ago, but she was somebody who could talk to animals, and she was chatting with me about how passionate she was about helping animals, and how, I said, so, what keeps you from being able to help more people, more animals? And she's like, well, I don't like talking about myself. I don't like telling people who I am. I don't like trying to explain to people that their animals have these, desires and needs, and that there's lots of other people in the world who are veterinarians and help the horses holistic or traditionally, but they don't help them do all these other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was what was standing in her way of, being more visible. And so I shared some techniques with her about, different ways that she could get out there and talk about herself, and, asked if she'd be interested in finding ways to learn how to do those and get better at learning how to do those. And it was a yes. And so, we agreed to start sort of working together. And she said to me, I totally want to do this. And I know that the animals need me. I know that I need to learn these skills, and that I haven't wanted to. But, it is November 1st, and we're coming into the holidays, and then we're going to have Christmas. And so, maybe I should just start this in January. And I teased her. I said, okay, no problem. I'll go and chat with all the horses in your area and let them know that they can't get sick and they can't get hurt and they can't feel bad because you're not available to help them over the next 2 months. You're too busy. You don't want to bother them, right? And she just started laughing because she's like, oh, I wasn't realizing that this is a collaboration. I thought that, it was just me, and she didn't want to, bother anybody about the holidays or any of that. So she's like, never mind, I'll get over my blocks tomorrow. Let's get started. And it was such a beautiful example of ways that we limit ourselves, right? So nobody's going to receive me, and nobody responded on my Instagram post. Nobody was there when I called. Like, there's fun ways of doing the things that sort of you don't want to do. Because they are sort of required. And I say that not from a form and structure of it has to be, but, your business has to be visible. And whether you hire somebody to do it or you do it yourself, you do have to have that happen in the business. And so for a lot of people, you have to be the one to do it until you're good enough at attracting someone into your reality who can do it for you. And so I've always just found, well, how do I make this fun? And that's what I've really applied to marketing and sales in general, is I just have to find a way to make this fun. I have to find a way to trick, because some of what's happening here too is our brains are what's keeping us safe. Our brains are the ones who say, don't go do something because it's scary. It's frightening. And our brains are literally chemically trying to change the chemicals in our body to keep us calm and safe and whatever. And I love the Access tools because they just bypass all of that logic that we're trying to do and get to who cares if your brain is trying to keep you safe? Who cares if your brain thinks that judgment's the end of the world? You got to keep focused on what you want, and focused from an energy perspective, not from a, this is the only way it's going to be kind of thing. So there's lots of little energetic nuances to what people are looking for. And this is where this work is so brilliant, because it's just a molecule that needs to be changed in order for all these things you've been looking for to just feel so much more ease.
Well, in saying that, a lot of what I know that I have even had, and I've heard from other, from my clients and other people, is, well, I don't know what to do to get started. You're talking about $100 million company, and, I'm making X, and it's not even in the same universe. So how could it possibly be just a molecule that needs to turn?
Because
so
if I got any one of you talking about what you're passionate about, you would be able to you already see the vision. You already see not the how it's going to get done. And that's where you're jamming yourself up, because you're trying to fix it already because you're smart, right? But it's that is where it might help for you to get some support from somebody who can hold that space for you and help you along the path. It doesn't have to be me. There's plenty of other access facilitators and other people in the world who could do that. But you're looking for somebody who will let you believe that thing you don't think is possible be, and then help you move as far as, okay, so what is a step right now that you could take to make that, to be on that path? And when you move from the energy of that, it might be, go to Starbucks right now. Why am I going to go to Starbucks? That doesn't make sense. I don't know. Just go. And then you go to Starbucks and you run into somebody with your car in the parking lot, and it happens that they're the CEO of some company that, you know, ends up hiring you to do something that gets you on the path to what you're trying to do.
You know, that's so true, because we can all immobilize ourselves into absolutely choosing to do nothing, because we're in our heads trying to figure it out, and you got to know from A to Z and every single step in between, and if you don't, then you don't do anything. I wonder if anybody else listening has ever done that.
Never, none of them. About 20 million times just today.
Right? I don't know how, so I'm not gonna. Well, okay, that's, you know, and then that when you look at and realize that that's actually a choice, and you can choose to continue doing that, or you can choose to do something different. It's like, oh, okay. And, you know, I mean, I have those, like you said, all the time, and I go, oh, Lord, like, okay, well, that's an interesting point of view, which is one of the wonderful things that we play with. And like, well, if I didn't have that point of view, I wonder what I could create here.
Yeah.
Again, getting out of my own way, and because I definitely want to figure it out and understand it and all those things that I've done for most of my life. And
because that leaves us feeling separated. If we have to figure it out, that leaves us feeling like we got to do it all. And then we're like, well, if I have to do it all, I ain't going to do any of it because I don't want to do it all. That's not a reality I want to create. Right?
So we're hard, and I don't know how to do it, and too expensive, and blah, blah, blah.
So this is where if this is where you're at in your reality, you might want to find someone who can support you in you think fast. You need somebody to let you think fast and crazy, but you need somebody to teach you, which is what the access tools do, right? So get your bars run, go to foundation, and then play with other tools, right? You need to learn to be the question, because the question is going to be what helps you to continue to just pivot into, okay, so I'm taking this first step and I don't understand how it's going to work out. Okay, great.
Right.
I'm aware that I need these 5 people to be in my business. Okay, I don't have any money to do that. Okay, what would it take to create the money? What would it take to just have the people? Interesting point of view that I have to have money to create the people. Like all of those things, when you start to use these access tools really in your business and in your day-to-day life, then you can go from, I have no idea how to create a $100 million business because I suck at creating $100 right now, into, oh, I can see how that's possible. I don't, and I'm going to do my work at continuing to lower the barriers about how that's going to happen and create with the universe so that it happens faster and quicker. And as if by magic, that's the magic part, right? Just, it happens without you efforting it.
And I love that you added that piece, the efforting it, because, you know, what we, us control freaks, right? You got to know how it's going to work. You got to figure it out. And then you have to control all of it and effort it and make it happen. And if you don't, it won't. And so here we come with these completely off the wall, you know, totally different things that we're talking about. And it can sound really frou-frou and ridiculous and all of that. And so if you get a client who has that as like, this is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard of, what are some of the things that you might respond with?
Interesting. So I think that as of now, I wouldn't even attract that. But when I believed that it was, when I still had doubt that all this woo-woo crazy was real, and I was in a world where I was trying to prove myself that I was right, that it was wrong. When I lived in that reality, I created more of that contrast. When I finally said, I am done with that, I just choose ease, right? And I'm just going to continue to choose ease. Those clients sort of didn't show up, and it really did shift almost overnight, energetically. And it felt horrible because, you had clients cancel, or that they're like all of a sudden just not wanting to work with you, and you're like, what's wrong? And then you're like, oh yeah, I choose not to deal with that anymore.
Right.
So, and I also am dealing with some personal, like, family stuff, which is so great to, help you create more consciousness, where there's pieces and parts of my family unit that don't want to know about this. And I have struggled with, but they should, and it's so great, and it's fire, and they don't have fire. And as soon as I stopped resisting them and just allowed them to be, and you know what? The things I got probably won't help. You know what? They actually will not help you, because you don't want them to, and you don't have any interest in that. So, this question definitely came up because it's going to help some people who are listening. We all shift through the clients that we attract, the people that come into our sessions, and it's a real reflection of like what you are choosing. And it's always, I feel like, another choice away to go into something else.
Oh, I love that. That's like a mic drop moment right there. Just a choice away to go into something else. That's awesome. And I do believe we are down for our second break. And when we come back, I would love to talk a little bit more about some of the services that you offer people. Stay tuned, guys, for more delicious, yummy today with Mande.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Thank you for this wonderful conversation today with Mande. I really have enjoyed it. There's lots of interesting tidbits in here. And before we get rolling on the next segment here, if anybody's looking for me, they can find me at creatingyumminess.com. And Mande and I are both facilitators, and we teach a lot of different classes. And I wonder if somebody's interested in having conversations with you about what you could contribute to their businesses, how do you go about that?
Yeah. So you would want to go to expand-your-impact.com/show-me-the-profits. So it's show me the profits. And there you can take a look at you can take a look at my calendar, and we'll schedule a 30-minute complimentary show me the profits discovery session. And I'll just ask you a bunch of questions about you and what you're up to, and we'll get a sense of whether or not the stuff that we play with and we want to create is something that's going to create more for both of us to work together.
Wow, very cool. And so you do consulting, and is it a lot with social media, that type of thing?
Yes. So our primary focus would be sort of business strategy, helping people to organize their business structure, and then a lot of things in sales and marketing. So anything from making that bigger marketing plan to which social media network do I play on and how do I play on it, to sales funnels, to high ticket. We do a lot with helping people to get high ticket clients. So a lot of the access work I do with clients ends up being, that people are using it in a bigger coaching capacity, or businesses are using it. And so we've gotten clients for $100,000 before on multiple occasions, and they're using the tools in sorts of different ways. This doesn't have to be all access businesses either. We work with all kinds of healers and all kinds of life coaches and other. If you're a coach, a healer, an author, speaker, that kind of thing, it's that solopreneur business that we support in. Two things, really: being more visible and energetically and physically, and then being more profitable, both energetically and physically.
Oh, that's really cool. And we talk about the things that we play with, the questions and the tools. We talk about them a lot on this show, and it's really, like you said, you can take it in anything that you do. You don't have to have taken even one class or listen to anything and take even one nugget from this conversation, one question. Or we talked about changing your point of view. We've talked about asking questions. There's so many things in here. If you never did anything else, could completely change the trajectory of the rest of what you would like to create with your life.
Definitely.
Yeah. And the title of the show was, how to make I forget the exact title because I don't have it in front of me, but, making a ton of money without selling your soul. And so are these tweaks that you're talking about some of the things that would actually contributed to the entrepreneurs that you've worked with make that switch?
They have some, and beautiful examples of it looks different than you think it will. One of my early clients I taught her how to, first of all, I met her while she was offering her service as a love offering at churches, right? Which means I can't ask for what I want. I need you to pay me whatever you can give me. And so she was making, I think her tax return that first year was $16,000, and that was barely even that, so it's not even, it's more than $1,000 a month, just barely $1,000 a month. Right. And I taught her, I said, you're trying to find these people with anxiety, or you're trying to find these people with, anxiety was one of the main ones. I was like, here, just go look at Twitter, and here's what you could do. Like, here, if you just look up this hashtag called anxiety on Twitter, here's all these people you could be having conversations with. And with a couple of tweaks for her in believing that people would pay for, help in the way that she helped people, she, within a couple years, was able to, she made $30,000, $32,000 in 1 month from her Twitter playing, because she got 6 clients in at between $5,000 and $6,000 a piece. And it was, directly from having conversations with them on Twitter, then having them on a little telephone call and teaching them some stuff, and then knowing how to ask the right questions to enroll them in these $5,000 and $6,000 packages. And her life just completely changed. I mean, completely changed. And now she just bought a truck this weekend. She bought a $1 million house with a ranch, with animals on it. She's contributing. She's making more a month than she used to make all year, and she's talking about 401ks, and she's talking about like all these things that weren't in her reality to begin with. And, so yeah, but that's what she wants. She wants the house and the ranch, and her kids are grown, so she doesn't want to travel the world or anything like that. So, but for other people, it's, hey, I want to get out and travel the world when I'm able to, or I want to, be able to provide for my kids in this way. So really the beauty of the entrepreneur journey is to facilitate this transformation for yourself in a way that you get paid to do it. And I don't know, what's better than that. Wow. Getting to learn more about who you are and help other people at the same time. Nobody's expecting us to have it all figured out. And that may be another thing some of us have to let go of. And I'm letting go of some of that as I talk to you, right? The having to have it figured out, right? People want you, every conversation we have with our clients is, I change when I'm on the conversation with them. It's not that I'm the coach and I'm better than them. It's they bring out a nuance that I was just grumping about a minute ago, and they look at it in a different way, and it's, this huge newer possibility. So that's the new paradigm, I think, for the coaching world, the healer world, is this real world of communion, creation, oneness that may be what your business and your life is looking for.
Well, and thank you for that piece. And I wonder what you say to people who have had the belief and have created so far exactly like this example of barely making it, struggling because they feel like they're supposed to just do everything for free, and they love doing it, so they don't want to stop, but they don't, change so that they actually could make money. And sorry, I've got so many questions popping in here. It's so fun because you tap into everybody listening, and you just sometimes really get like, boom, all this information and all these questions. It's like, okay, I got it. So with that, how do you change a mindset of I can't ask for the money I really desire, number one, and number two to that is, well, I don't even know.
Well, I can't hear you there. Are you there? Hey, you wanted me to tap in. There you are. Could you finish your question?
Well, I was just saying, with the money, how do you go about changing your mindset to I can't ask for the money I really desire, number one, and number two, I don't even really know what that is. So what do you contribute to people who might be in there? I know that it's it's a bigger conversation than we really can get into today, but just kind of curious as to what your experience has been with that.
Yeah, so a couple of things with that. So one is logically we can talk about all of the, in a lot of ways, logically we can talk about, so who's your ideal client, or who would you like to be a client, right? Okay, so let's tap into their lives and let's look at their finances and their budget, right? Most of the time we're looking at people that spend more money on purses or shoes or clothes or, that we can be in judgment of them for that. And then we're afraid to ask for what a purse costs to change their lives. So logically, I like to approach it that way sometimes, like just the insaneness of, you can't ask for $150 for a bar session or $300 for a bar session when they just spent this much on, mani-pedis for the month, or, right. a facial. So some of it's the logic, and then other parts of it is, who does that belong to is what's coming up, right? Which is an access tool of, who gave you that point of view that they can't and they won't, because you've paid for your own training, no matter what modality you've done. You've invested in yourself in such a way, and most of us have scraped by, have pulled. I would have always paid for a healer than I would have a dinner out or alcohol with friends or something like that. My priorities were just different, and I bet so are yours. So this is where we just get caught in that sort of cycle of, it's the law of attraction sort of thing of, I'm creating a reality that proves that I can't have what I want. And so therefore I keep creating realities that show me that I can't have what I want. And somehow we have to get off that insanity cycle and just choose something. Right. Well, if I could choose what I want, what would it be right now? If I could have what I want, let me prove to myself that I can't get better clients by asking more people for money this month. Let me get rejected 10 more times and see how that works out. And being rejected, you might need a support system. You might need a community of people who go, it's okay, it's not you, it's them. Like it's valid. But those are you willing to do that work if it means that you can have a totally different life and living? Or are you not ready for that? And if you're not ready for that, there's no judgment in that either. Like, cool, okay, maybe next month it'll be. But most of the time people create more trauma until they're ready to choose. So maybe that's the gift we're going to give everybody today is go ahead and just choose now. It's possible.
When you have things that light you up, make your whole body, excited and tingly and everything like that, what can you do to propel that forward?
You asked that question with like 4 minutes left. Just send the little trickles of that energy to everyone, every Facebook post you've ever made, every podcast you've ever made, every podcast you've listened to, every business card you've ever sent out, every email you've ever sent, your website, every website visitor, like every person you've ever met, your kids have been on soccer teams with, like whatever it is, and little trickles of that energy out to those people and places, events and adventures, and ask that energy just trickle back to you in the form of clients and cash and website sales and whatever else, great interviews, great stages to speak on, whatever that might be fun for you. More of that now, please.
I love that. I love that so much. And, I hear somebody saying, well, what do you mean tapping into your past things?
Well, so all of us have, as entrepreneurs, have networked, I hope. And so imagine that first networking meeting that you went to and you passed out your business cards. And what if somebody right now is cleaning out their closet and they're grumping at themselves for, oh my God, I kept this stack of business cards from 10 years ago, and they come across your card and they're like, oh, this would so help me. I remember meeting this girl. She was fabulous. Let me give her a call. And they call you, right? So that possibility is available. But if you look at it and go, well, I can't get clients, it's not possible to get clients, you're almost putting this barrier up to the universe of like, my phone numbers is not listed, right? They won't find the business card. They won't find the Facebook status update because you're just blocking yourself from receiving that. So a lot of the work we do with our clients constantly is to remind them that everything they've ever done is contributing to the $100 million business they're creating right now. And if they stopping it, it will be way better and way easier than they thought.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for listening to Imperfect Brilliance. Mande, this was a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.